Good morning. Welcome to the Automated Home Show. Hope you're doing well wherever you're watching or listening from. I recently had a couple of really interesting conversations about the topic of window treatments. So we're talking about smart blinds, smart shades, smart curtains, that type of thing. Right after this intro, I'm going to throw it to the first conversation with Jason Turner, VP of Powershades.com. He's a really nice guy and he's got lots of interesting information. So without further ado, I'll throw it right over to that conversation. Jason, nice to talk to you. How are you?
Very good, Marty. Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I know it's pretty late over there for you. So, yeah, sorry. And I need to apologize in advance if we have any baby distractions. Hopefully, it's not too crazy. If it does get too loud, let me know.
Sure,
So, why don't
sure.
you,
How old is the baby? I guess first off.
well, he's almost one and he's just started walking.
Ah,
So, he might come and bang
yeah.
on the door here at some
Uh,
point. We'll see.
well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and then we can get into it?
Sure. Well, as you know, my name is Jason Turner. I'm the vice president and co-founder of Powershades. We are a kind of a technology company. We started in 2017 in Joplin, Missouri, right in the middle of the U.S. We are, as I kind of mentioned, a little bit of a technology company in that when we came into this industry, we came in kind of out of necessity. We were working in different industries altogether in furniture and energy conservation and energy management, and got involved in some hotels, and um, they were looking for ways to help save energy, and asked us to help them, among other things, automate the windows and everything with when everybody does it. They check into a hotel room, they turn on the lights, open the windows, crank the AC down, and turn the TV on, and then they leave and go to the bar or go to the pool. And so we got involved to help determine occupancy in the room, not in a creepy way at all, but just to determine if there were actually bodies in the room. And when we saw really the state of automation at that point in window shades, we saw an opportunity. And my background, I'm an electrical engineer. My co-founder and business partner Ryan is as well. We just got a deep history in automation and IP-based control and all sorts of stuff. And it just seemed obvious to us how to make it better. And so we did. And we started Power Shades. And as it stands now, we're kind of the PoE company, the power over Ethernet. That's what we developed and really brought to the market, and kind of kind of changed the industry a little bit. And it's been a lot of fun.
Great. All right, Jason. So, are you guys primarily dealing with hotels at the moment, or are you doing some residential as well?
Well, that's kind of the interesting part of, the genesis of the company. We did start in commercial, in hospitality like that. And even early on in the company, we did a lot of e-commerce and direct to consumer. And we realized pretty quickly that, that the amount of customer hand holding in that world, as opposed to the industry that we do primarily play in now, is the CEDIA market here in the U.S., where it's all the smart homes, all our most of our dealers are integrators that are already doing home theaters, doing smart lighting, doing distributed audio, all this cool stuff in these homes. And they come in with our binders of fabrics and hardware choices. And these guys are largely, they're very techy. They're already doing the networks in the homes. They're doing all the Wi-Fi, all that kind of thing. And so the power over Ethernet motor that we developed is really it's a natural extension of that. These guys already know how to set up all those networks. They're already running that cable. Um, One of the cool things about our system is whenever they order these online and build the order in our portal, they're kind of inadvertently programming these things and they don't realize it sometimes at the time. All the attributes they put in, that this is the left window in Billy's bedroom and the second floor of this house in Cleveland, Ohio, that kind of thing. And we've got a complete online cloud-based portal that allows complete automation, whether you are putting an automation system in the home or not. And it becomes very easy to do, for instance, like a good morning scene or a good night scene, and have all the shades open at a certain time, or go down or around sunset, depending on your part of the world, or daylight savings time, winter, summer, that kind of thing. It just becomes real easy to use, and voice control and just all that kind of easy part. The that part of automation has kind of become a forgotten or an overlooked part of a complete system, in that when automated shades are used properly, um, the energy savings is substantial. Most people have already swapped out all the old energy burning incandescent light bulbs in their house for LED bulbs. Most people pay attention to how cleaning the filters in their heat and air systems, and that kind of thing. And what a lot of people do is just overlook the windows and leave them wide open all summer. Or and by closing those things as the heat load is rising on the home, or inversely opening those things in the winter, to let the sun in, to really do that properly. You could save some significant energy, upwards of 30% of heat and air cost. Not to mention the privacy and, let's be honest, the cool factor of having them automatically go up and down at a certain time of the day. And you get kind of used to it. Kind of like, when's the last time, Marty, you used a key to unlock the door in your car? Once you get used to using that little key fob, or just walking up to your car, um, certainly it's a luxury, but it becomes something that you count on, again, for convenience, for security, for privacy, for all those reasons.
That's an interesting point that you make about, excuse me, significant potential savings on HVAC systems in the summer or in the winter. I've got a friend that lives in Arizona, so I know it gets scorching down there. And yeah,
Absolutely.
that's interesting. Like, I did know that blinds, curtains are an extension of smart lighting. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
absolutely.
interesting.
It's interesting you bring that up as well, because we are launching a line of lighting as well. It's the distribution network that we primarily sell through in the U.S. have come to us specifically for that. And you're absolutely right. Whereas lighting is, of course, the control of artificial light, and shading is the control of natural light. And in a lot of commercial buildings, that's becoming much more common to do. It's a term called daylighting, where they can identify the ideal temperature, brightness, all these comfort levels, and of all these aspects of the work environment that make people most comfortable, most productive. And we can monitor that and control the lighting and the shading hand in hand. And if it's done properly, people don't even realize it's going on. And it just makes for a comfortable work environment all day.
It sounds fantastic. I'm sold on the vision. You primarily play in the pro installer space, right?
We do. We are launching, doing a couple partnerships with some retail locations, that we are in process of working on, but primarily the smart home industry. We do a fair amount in the commercial space still. Um, you start looking at these big hotels. For instance, we just helped out on a Caesars project in Arizona, you mentioned. And boy, these guys were brave. They built a great big glass black building in the middle of Scottsdale, Arizona. And every room in this hotel is floor to ceiling glass. And that one was a big challenge. We helped on that and did the entire hotel with those PoE motors, and have had some real good luck with that. A lot of good success. We have been doing a lot of again in our company. We've got a commercial division that handles we kind of call it all commercial, but whether it's a school, a hospital, a office building, a hotel, of course they've all got their nuances, but we do a fair amount of that. But the smart home industry is still the biggest market for us, and man, honestly, still a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So a little while ago, you talked about detecting occupancy, but not in a creepy way. Is that millimeter wave? Is that what you're using there?
Are there other ways? Yeah, so I guess just to dip back into that a little bit in my background, um, in a former life before Power Shades, we did a lot of stuff with, if you've ever gone to a movie theater and sat in those automated recliners, or if you've ever sat in an adjustable bed where you could raise the head, even furniture, a automated recliner just for your living room, automotive seats, all these different, seemingly different industries. We did a tremendous amount of work and automation in that industry before. And one of the big problems were pinch points. You take those movie theaters, for instance, everybody loves those big automated seats, but what they don't think about is after the movie's over and everybody spilled their popcorn under the seat or, mashed their drinks under there, some poor person has to walk around and push the button and raise those all up and sweep out from under them. So we developed some technology called capacitive sensing. It was an existing technology, but we applied it to that to where if any of this stuff was in motion and it came in contact with a human body, just by touching it, we could detect that and automatically stop all motion. And then we carried that into furniture. Everybody's set their backpack in the passenger seat of their car and have the occupancy sensor go off and want you to latch the seatbelt. Or everybody's set, in a room in a building or somewhere and had the lights go off because they sat still for too long. Um, that is actually a lot easier to detect the human body based on our capacitance. Absolutely no identification. And again, that's why I say it's not creepy. There's no cameras, there's no detection of who it is, or, it's quite simply, are people sitting on furniture? And is it an actual person as opposed to a suitcase or a backpack or, a bag of towels or whatever? The human body has a very distinguishable signature in its capacitance, not to be too much of a nerd, but and that becomes fairly easy to pick up. You guys have seen where you touch a faucet with the back of your, these commercials to turn the water on when your hands are dirty. It's a similar technology, but we did that. We took that into hotels and other things like letting them know that somebody's been in bed way too long. Somebody probably ought to go check on them. Maybe they're not breathing anymore. Things like that. Again, not distinguishable traits, but we could just tell the hotel somebody is actually in that room when that room is rented. So go ahead and let them run the thermostat all they want and leave the windows open and that kind of thing. And when we could determine that the room was actually unoccupied, then the hotel could decide if they what they wanted to do to throttle energy usage back. So, it was one of those instances where we came into it without knowledge of where it would end up, but one thing led to another, and here's power shades and all my gray hair.
Can barely tell. So you guys are this is really interesting. So you guys are kind of the tech enablers, and then the client, in this case the hotel, they decide what they want to do with that information. So let's talk about a scene. I'm sure it's different for different clients, but perhaps this Arizona property is an interesting case because it's so hot there. So let's say the guest in the hotel room, they leave the room, they go out. Obviously, they want to save some costs, so they might turn off the aircon and turn off the television, that sort of thing. But is there any consideration with regard to making the room comfortable for the guest upon return? So, how are they thinking about that? And again, I know
Absolutely.
that's not really your decision.
Well, we give them a lot of data points. What we can do is tell them what state the windows were left in. If the shades were half up or the curtains were all the way open, that kind of thing. And it actually gets a lot smarter than that, in that they've got a lot of data knowing how hot it is outside and how far they can throttle the AC or the HVAC back, knowing that how long it's going to take to get comfortable again. A lot of hotels are even doing some real cool stuff, like all the Hilton properties where you can use your phone as the key to go into the room, to use it. Again, nothing creepy there, but they know when you're on your way back to your room based on your Wi-Fi usage through the entire property. So they know when to bring the AC back down. They know when you're getting close so that you can put the room back to the state that it was in before they left, whether that be the lights, the TV, the windows, the HVAC. Um, all of this has to be done with the guest comfort in mind. Because if we throttle energy usage back way too much and then they come back to a hot room, a hot, dark room, that's not going to be very popular. So all of that energy usage and energy conservation has to be done in some constraints where it doesn't affect guest comfort.
Mm,
But even doing it with those constraints, the bottom line is huge. Not running that air conditioner full throttle 24 hours a day, again, while the guest is in the room only a fraction of the time that room is rented. Um, there's major savings there. And again, back to that guest comfort, by closing those shades in Arizona when the guest is at the pool and then opening them back up before the guest goes back into the room, we've kept that room cool for them. Not to mention saved some energy usage. It's enhanced the guest comfort. And a lot of that stuff's going on behind the scenes anyway. So the better that we can make it, the smarter that we can make it, and make it non-intrusive to the guest. And again, without being creepy. I really want to stress that.
no,
Nobody wants to think they're being tracked or anything like that.
yeah, I get it.
So
Yeah,
a lot of cool stuff that can be done anonymously like that.
yeah, I'm totally fine with this type of technology, and I know some people get a bit apprehensive about it, but from my perspective, it's
Mhm.
totally fine. And as you point out, from the guest's perspective, they don't even need to know any of this is happening. They don't even need to care, right? All they care about is
Right.
the room was comfortable when I left. The room is comfortable when I come back. Great.
Exactly. And then you talk about tropical climates and all the humidity and the ways that we can help that with the window coverings, and in conjunction with the HVAC system playing nicely together, it just simply enhances the guest comfort. And then we take that into the home, where they've got the home theater, and again with our automation, um, they hit one button to turn the theater on, and that does everything. It puts the lights correct, turns all the projector, maybe lowers the projector screen. We can lower all the blackout shades, and just make it more comfortable. And in our just our normal stuff that goes into normal homes. I already mentioned a little bit how we have this online dashboard where whenever they're setting the systems up, we already know based on the input from ordering all the windows on the west side of the house, let's say, or the south side of the house. Um, for instance, here at my house, I've got our systems, all we care about is the zip code. We don't want to know any specifics of the home whatsoever, the occupants, the homeowners. We simply want to know the zip code. And by knowing the zip code year round, we know absolute sunrise, solar noon, sunset, daylight savings time, weather, all those things that we can use to, like I was starting to say in my house, every day, an hour after solar noon, I lower all the shades automatically on the west side of my house 50%. Um, and it's pretty surprising what it does to the air conditioning load. It keeps the home much cooler. You can still see outside. Um, and then we have, my wife has it set up to where every morning the shades all open at a certain time, but then in the evening they all close, based on sunset. That way we don't care about summer, winter, daylight savings time, anything like that. They just stay open longer in the summer and close earlier in the winter. My analogy with the car key, we just never have to touch them anymore. They just automatically work, and it really becomes nice and comfortable.
That sounds fantastic. I have to give credit to somebody that I talk to from time to time here on the channel, David Webster. He's shared a lot of knowledge about these sorts of things with me. He said to me that his wife sometimes complains that she's deprived the basic pleasure of being able to open and close the curtains manually. So I assume there are still manual overrides, right? If you want to, if it goes
Absolutely.
down automatically and you're not happy with it, you can put it back up if you want.
Oh, of course, we've got, remote controls, wall touch panels, Alexa, or Google Home. You can just talk to them and tell it to open or close the living room, that kind of thing. Um, so absolutely, you can open them, close them. My wife overrides them all the time.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about PoE being the enabling technology here. Does that mean that, someone like myself, I recently got blackout curtains here in this room that I'm sitting in at the moment. If I wanted to install something right here, do I need PoE available?
That's a great question. POE, we sell primarily into new construction because you've got to run wires. We have a full line of battery powered radio control motors. Quite honestly, we sell a lot of those. And it's kind of interesting in the trajectory of our company as we started out we didn't have a lot of new construction going on. We primarily sold the battery powered motors. And then as we go on, the mix of those hardwired motors and all these new construction projects just grow and grow and grow. But you're absolutely right. The POE is primarily new construction or a remodel where they can get in there and pull wires.
Mhm.
But in that world, those AV integrators are already pulling that exact same cable for the Wi-Fi access points, for security cameras, for touch panels, for you name it. Their POE is becoming ubiquitous in construction. The real challenge with PoE is that it doesn't supply a lot of power. And that's kind of where our patents come in and are pretty unique. We do some energy storage in the motor itself so that whenever you need to raise that great big shade, we're not sucking all that power from the PoE switch and causing a brownout. We store that energy in the motor so that all that inrush current happens right there from the motor. So you take one of these giant, Caesars projects where we've got, 1,000 of these motors in there. The infrastructure from power over Ethernet to power that many giant 15-foot wide shades would be enormous. But because of the way that we store the energy in the motor, whenever they can do an all open on the entire building and not even be a blip in power. So, um, and again, we take that and use some of that technology in our battery powered shades. And these things, you charge them like a cell phone, and it might be 9 months to a year between charges. Just really depends on how much you use them. Most people open them in the mornings, close them at night, but we have a lot of these kind of Willy Wonka projects where they're going up and down all day long, or kids are playing with them, and maybe you have to charge them after 6 months, but do a lot of those.
Okay, fantastic. So, sounds like your PoE products are mostly for the pro installers, and your battery devices lend themselves more naturally to the DIY crowd, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. Do you want to tell us a bit more about how people could get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your products, or maybe they want to, maybe they're a pro installer themselves and they want to reach out to you?
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. So powershades.com, very simple. You can see all of our products on there. Of course, as we've mentioned, all of the residential indoor shades. We have a broad line of outdoor shades that we do as well. Um, all the commercial stuff, everything that we do there, you'll be able to find online. And we also have a dealer locator and a dealer sign up. Again, we primarily sell through a network of dealers. And one of the things that we've got on the website there is, enter your zip code, and we can tell you the dealers in your neighborhood, people that we can, you can contact them directly, have them come out, measure your shades, install your shades, show you all the different fabrics. Um, and then as far as if a dealer does decide that they want to become a Power Shades dealer, we've got the links right there on the website for them to fill out their information. One of our regional sales reps will get in touch with them and go through the process of onboarding. We've got a very, very simple online ordering system where the dealer simply goes in, and as we've talked about a little bit, of course, the fabrics that they choose, the size of the windows, that kind of stuff. But they will enter some of these other attributes, we call them, of the floor of the house, the zip code of the house, all that, so that when they do place that order button, these shades show up largely already programmed. Really, all they need to do is mount them and plug them into the network, or pair them to our RF or our radio controlled gateway for control, and they're off to the races. Um, but yeah, powershades.com. They'll be able to see all the things we do, all the contact information, big photo gallery. A lot of people like to browse through those and get ideas for their home. And they can see the new products that we're in process of launching, like the lighting, the awnings, and some new non-roller shade window treatment options that we're launching. That's one of the things that we get a lot of feedback from our dealers. As much as they love the roller shades, sometimes the wife wants additional or different window treatments, and so we're answering those.
Fantastic. I'll be sure to link that up wherever people are watching or listening. Um, yeah, I'll also share this with my friend that lives in Arizona because it sounds like this would be helpful for him. And he mentioned,
Please.
yeah, he mentioned, I think a week or two ago, they had the power go off for a while and it just sounded brutal, brutally hot.
Yeah, yeah, it gets pretty hot out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Well, great to talk to you and all the best with the future product launches. And yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll talk again at some point.
Great, Marty. I really appreciate the opportunity, and hope your listeners enjoyed it, and look forward to talking more.
Thanks. All right. Have a good day. See ya.
You too, Marty. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks again to Jason for coming on and having a chat with me. I really enjoyed that. And if you're interested in checking out powershades.com or maybe you want to work with them, I'll leave a link down below and you can go and check them out. If you found that to be a little bit advanced, because he did mention that they're primarily dealing in the professional install space, not exclusively, but mostly for now. And if you're looking for something a little bit more approachable, check out the next conversation, which I'll be sharing in the next day or two with David Webster about much the same topic, but it's a little bit more approachable for beginners, which I am. So check out that next conversation if you found this one to be interesting. Otherwise, hope you're having a great day. Take care, and I'll talk to you again soon.